Maryland football struggles in Eugene as the Terps' bowl game aspirations are shrinking fast. Maryland women's basketball took down rival Duke in a top 25 matchup. Missy Mahar's squad denied a spot in the Big Ten final in heartbreaking fashion. All that and more coming up in this edition of The Left Bench.
Playing good teams like Oregon, they do not need help.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ben Wolf, alongside the one and only Andrew McBride. And Andrew, while fall sports had a rough weekend, Maryland basketball has been off to a piping hot start.
Yeah, Ben, new additions, Derek Queen and Rodney Rice, have been unbelievable for the Terps to start this season. I mean, 28 from Rice last game and a monster 22-point, 20-rebound game from Derek Queen.
And you can't forget about the women's team, who sits at 3-0 after a nail-biting win over Duke.
That's right.
But we're going to get right out to the Xfinity Center, where Maryland men's basketball just wrapped up Game 3 of the season against Florida A&M.
TSC's Matthew Noose is at Xfinity covering the game. Matthew, what happened over there?
Yeah, guys, the talk of the offseason was about Derek Queen for Maryland men's basketball, but what about his teammate down low? Juju Reese puts up a season-best 21 points in a 31-point Terps' victory.
Maryland starts off fast in this one, jumping out to an early 15-point lead on a 15-0 run. The Terps' full-court press causing multiple turnovers, and Maryland is in the clear from the beginning. The Terps rack up 31 points off of 22 Florida A&M turnovers. More of the same in the second half. Senior Juju Reese plays his best game of the young season, dropping 21 points to lead all scorers. Derek Queen and Jacoby Gillespie both get up for slams, and the Terps cruise to a third win on the year.
Yeah, guys, it gets a lot tougher starting this Friday here at Xfinity Center when Shaka Smart brings his 15th-ranked Marquette Golden Eagles here to College Park. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Matt. And Ben, it is only the third game of the season, but Kevin Willard's new shiny weapons on that starting five and on the bench have been proving to be game changers for him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But, I mean, the competition level hasn't been quite there yet, but Maryland will get a true test on Friday against Marquette.
That's right.
Staying on basketball, number 18 Maryland women's basketball got its first test of the season against old ACC foe number 11 Duke. The top 25 matchup did not disappoint. Both teams came in undefeated, but it was Maryland who left with the win. Right out the gate, the Terps hold Duke scoreless early, forcing 5 turnovers. Soon after, the Terps go on a 9-0 run with 5 points coming from Kayleen Smichael. Second quarter comes and roles were reversed. The Blue Devils go on a 13-5 run, cutting Maryland's lead down to 7 by the end of the half. But Maryland comes surging back in the third quarter, extending their lead to 13 with Bree McDaniel and Christina Dowsey combining for 14 of Maryland's 25 points. Duke tries to rally late, but it was not enough as Maryland comes out on top 85-80. Here's what head coach Brenda Fries had to say after the win.
These games early, you're really trying to learn about your team, and I know for us going in, there were a lot of questions with a lot of new players, and they just continue to show us what they've shown in practice, that they're really, really competitive.
A massive game for Maryland women's basketball, but you can't get much bigger than number 1. And Maryland football gave number 1 a test Saturday night, taking on the top team in the nation, the Oregon Ducks. After a Jack House field goal, Oregon running back Jordan James punches in the first TD of the game. Ducks lead 7-3 in the first quarter. Now in the second quarter, Billy Edwards fumbles, Oregon scoops, and Oregon scores. Roman Hemby responds with a quick Terp touchdown before the break, but Heisman candidate Dylan Gabriel says, not today. He marches down the field and connects with Terrence Ferguson for the score. Gabriel throws for 3 touchdowns and 183 yards with 23 completions, stopping the Terps in the second half and leading the Ducks to the 39-18 win. Gabriel becomes the all-time NCAA passing touchdown leader in the win for Oregon. Maryland falls to 4-5 on the season, and head coach Mike Loxley is frustrated his squad can't put the pieces together.
Just kind of didn't execute and didn't perform at the level we need to, man. When you're playing good teams like Oregon, they do not need help. And that's why I'm so frustrated because, the guys are putting in the work. They're preparing the right way. We're practicing the right way. You know, it's just the growing pains of having to go through this piece. And I can tell you my patience is thin with it. But as long as these guys keep showing up and fighting, I'm going to keep coaching the crap out of them, and we'll get healthier. We'll get it fixed. We'll get back home and start preparing for Rutgers.
Maryland field hockey hosted the Big Ten tournament last weekend, but the home team goes out early in a heartbreaker against Michigan. The scoring in this instant classic kicks off late in the first period with a Macy Bradford goal off a ricochet. Michigan gets one goal, but the Terps offense is cooking. A set play off a penalty corner for Ella Gayton puts the Terps back up, and then a Hope Rose goal on a fast break pushes the lead 3-1. But then in the fourth, things started to crumble for the Terps, and the Michigan Wolverines came out of hiding. Michigan takes advantage with a pair of penalty corners, and with only 4 seconds left on the clock, Michigan ties the game 3-3. We go scoreless in overtime, so this one is a shootout. The Terps' fourth quarter struggles continue into the penalty strokes. While Michigan converts 2 chances, Michigan wins and the Terps get bounced from the Big Ten tourney. Here's Missy Maharg after the game.
Change anything tactically from the first and second quarters, but it seemed like we did. Like they went out there and weren't doing what we had been doing in the first night. I couldn't really figure out why. We had some moments of panic, definitely tactically, and you know, in defense of the team, you know, they fought hard. We were under siege. I mean, I'm looking at the stats. It tells the story.
Despite the loss, Missy Maharg has built quite the career with Maryland field hockey.
That's right, Andrew, and that's why TSC's Daniel Stein is joining us today. He's over in Studio B to break down Maharg's success as a coach ahead of the Terps' NCAA postseason run. Daniel?
Yeah, guys, 2024 has been just another day at the office for Missy Maharg. In her 37 seasons leading Maryland field hockey, she's accumulated hundreds of wins. You can count her number of championships on 2 hands, and has the same amount of losing seasons as I do touchdowns in the NFL. 0. Maharg has certainly cemented her legacy at Maryland, but where does she rank among other coaches in her sport? Among field hockey coaches all time, Maharg is currently the 3rd most winningest, trailing only UConn's Nancy Stevens and North Carolina's Karen Shelton. She may be 90 wins away from catching Shelton, but the other 2 coaches in front of her are both retired. Among active head coaches, Maharg has been dominant, posting over 130 more wins than the second-place coach, Boston University's Sally Starr. Maharg also leads in active winning percentage with a staggering 79% clip. Now let's compare Missy to coaching legends in other sports. Starting on the gridiron, here are the 5 all-time winningest college coaches in FBS history. According to Sports Reference, at number 1 is Penn State's Joe Paterno with 409 wins. Also on the list are legends Bobby Bowden and Bear Bryant, as well as pioneer Pop Warner and College Game Day newcomer Nick Saban. Now, let's add Missy Maharg to this chart. What we see here is Maharg's 655 career wins leads Paterno by over 200. Pretty impressive considering 4 of the 5 coaches in the top 5 coached more seasons in their career than Missy. It is worth noting that the average field hockey season has a few more games than college football. In Maryland's last field hockey championship in 2011, the team played 23 games, compared in football, where the 2023 title-winning Michigan Wolverines played just 15. Now let's move to the court, where if Maharg coached men's basketball, her 655 wins would land her as the 35th most winningest coach, a handful of wins behind fellow Maryland national champ Gary Williams, but ahead of 2-time Villanova national champ Jay Wright. Speaking of national championships, Maharg has proven to be one of the most prolific championship winners in NCAA history. Her 7 national titles eclipse any college basketball coach not named John Wooden, as well as any collegiate football coach not named Nick Saban, another 7-chip winner. And guys, comparing coaches across different sports is very difficult and not the most fair, but it just goes to show that Missy Maharg's dominance in collegiate field hockey is so rare that it's only been replicated a handful of times in NCAA athletics. And with field hockey often overlooked in the world of college athletics, it's important to acknowledge not only a Maryland great, but an NCAA great as well. Back to the boys in Studio A.
Thanks, Daniel. And Ben, since field hockey isn't really a primary sport at this school, Maharg's success here kind of flies under the radar, but It's really amazing what she's been able to do in dominating so many seasons here.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the all-time coaches here at Maryland. But over the past few years, they have struggled in tournament play, but we'll see what happens this year in North Carolina.
We'll see.
Now, don't go anywhere as we take a look at the end-of-season awards for men's soccer.
We will also have a look at a men's soccer player who turned a hospital stay into a nonprofit organization. Stay with us.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me and I love it.
Welcome back to Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Andrew McBride, that's Ben Wolf and Ben. Maryland men's soccer started the season so well, but just went cold at the wrong time.
And unfortunately, it had to be during the Big Ten tournament, too.
Sorry, let's take a look at what went wrong for the Terps. Sasha Swarovski's squad came into the Big Ten quarterfinal on a 3-game losing streak, and the woes continued against 6-seeded UCLA. The match is tight for the first 33 minutes until Jose Conte opens up the scoring for the Bruins. Once UCLA takes the lead, they never look back. 11 minutes later, Philip Nath nets their second goal to double their lead. Into the second half, nothing was going for the Terps. This time, Andre Ochoa puts one past Lauren Mack to build the lead to 3. The Terps created only 2 shots on goal the entire game, as UCLA scores 3 more times to cruise to a 6-0 blowout. But Ben, despite the poor finish in the Big Ten tournament, there were many positives for this team. Midfielder Leon Kuhl was named to the All-Big Ten first team, and defender William Kolvik was awarded Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. So even though the season didn't finish as they planned out and they still are pending the NCAA tournament, there's a lot of positives for Swarovski's squad to hang their hat on.
Yeah, and they're definitely doing a lot of stuff off the field as well. Athletes take pride in giving back to the community. I spoke with Luke Van Hoeklum and his parents on how he has not only given back, but created his nonprofit foundation to help children battling pediatric cancer. For soccer player Luke Van Hoeklum, his focus isn't necessarily on the field. His focus is video games.
It inspired me to figure out a way to help these kids in any way I could.
Van Hoeklum's doctors were 99% sure he had cancer at age 13. Despite turning out healthy, he spent 5 days in the hospital. During this solitary time, the only connection he had to the outside world, his Xbox.
Just even talking to my friends and feeling like we're just sitting back and hanging out, I think.
This thing that used to be sort of the bane of my existence, like, the Xbox, it became something that I was like, oh my God, thank God for this.
This led to the inspiration of Team 44. Team 44 provides pediatric cancer patients an escape through connectivity. The foundation has gone above and beyond, providing gaming consoles in all 48 patient rooms at Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago.
I think it's more important just that the kids are happy.
You really realize the strength of your family and friends.
For Van Hoeklum, what started as a donation of his personal Xbox turned into a foundation. For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Ben Wolf. And Andrew, it's just truly inspiring how Luke wanted to give back to the community after having such a scary experience.
Yeah, it was really cool to see what he does off the field after seeing him on the field, and it's a real true testament to what Sasha Swarovski holds his squad to. And just great work on that, Ben.
Thank you, Andrew. Maryland volleyball went a month without winning a game, but Maryland has now won 2 straight, beating Michigan State on Thursday and UCLA on Saturday. Maryland opens up the game against UCLA on a 5-1 run, led by Samantha Schnitta doing Samantha Schnitta things. A UCLA service error gives the Terps the 1-0 lead. The Bruins open up the second set with a 6-0 run. The Terps fight back, but UCLA closes out set 2, evening it up. Sydney Dowler leads the way in a close third set, but the Terps get back on the saddle and get the set win. Looks like UCLA is going to run away in the third set, but the Terps again come from behind and take down the Bruins 3-1. Coach Adam Hughes earned his 100th career win for Maryland.
It feels really good, especially against a great program like UCLA. You know, I honestly had no idea until Libby came over at the end. I haven't tracked it. I'm sure I pay attention to my losses more than my wins, but incredibly just thankful for the team effort tonight.
Maryland baseball was at the Bob on Saturday for Game 2 of their Fall World Series, featuring the two inter-squad teams, the Aggies versus the Old Liners. The Aggies take a 2-1 lead in the first as a costly error and a sac fly puts them ahead early. The key to scoring for both sides, small ball, where the Aggies bring in 4 more runs in the 4th inning. Freshman pitcher Jake Yeager is on the bump for the Aggies, giving up 2 runs over 4 innings with a 1-2-3 third inning. In the bottom of the 4th, senior Jacob Orr goes yard with a long fly ball to left, pushing the Aggies' lead to 8-1. After winning Game 1, it would be freshman Christopher Cespedes striking out 3 in the top of the 6th to clinch the series for the Aggies with an 8-2 win.
This one game, of Game 3 may be really telling towards what happens for an NCAA tournament or a bid, right? So, and on the other side, you're saying, hey man, like we're not done. We won the first 2 games, but let's step on their throat and let's sweep. So I think those types of things come more of like what's the identity of the team, what's the character of the team. So on both sides, they're saying different messages, but the game really still matters.
Now stick around as Andrew and I break down the possibilities of Maryland football extending its bowl streak to 4 seasons.
We will also crown our Terp of the Week, Pro Terp, and our top 5 plays. Stay with us.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me and I love it.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. Ben Wolf, Andrew McBride, and we have jumped over to Studio B to break down Maryland football's odds to make its 4th straight bowl game.
Yeah, Ben, the Terps have struggled a lot, coming off a 21-point loss to number 1 ranked Oregon, but believe it or not, the Terps have a chance to make a bowl game still. 3 games left. All they need is 2 to get to that 6-win mark. So let's see what their path is looking like to make a 4th bowl game in a row.
Let's do it.
So first up, they have Rutgers. Now, Rutgers has lost 4 of the last 5, but they're coming off a win against Minnesota, who blew out Maryland. So,
yeah, and this game, 6 o'clock game at CQ Stadium. The past 2 outings, Maryland has really handled Rutgers, and they honestly had a chance against Oregon last week. So if they're able to carry momentum into this game, I think they're able to pull this one out.
So you think that we can give them their first win here, one of the 3?
Yes,
so
I agree.
1 win against Rutgers. Now, the next game against Iowa, much more of a dogfight. What do you think about this game?
I think the key to this game is going to be stopping Caleb Johnson. This season, he has 1,300 yards on the ground, 14 total touchdowns, and The Terps, throughout this season, have allowed 113 yards per game and 11 rushing touchdowns. So obviously, football is won in the trenches, and if they're able to stop him, I think they'll be able to squeak this one out.
And the Hawkeyes have had a lot of time to prepare for Maryland. They're coming off a bye week, a week after losing to UCLA by 3. But again, they blew out a Minnesota team that we talked about early and Northwestern, 2 teams that also beat the Terps pretty handedly. So I see this one being a dogfight, but Maryland might have to win it because of the team they play next. So maybe they get the win, maybe not. But it is a must-win in my eyes. What do you think about it?
Yeah, this is definitely a must-win game. If they want to keep those bowl chances alive, they have to take this one.
And we think that because the next game is against Penn State, who is currently ranked number 6 in the country. They're going to be fighting for a playoff spot in this game. I mean, Ben, what do you want to say about this one?
I mean, this one's going to be really tough. Last time Maryland went to Happy Valley, they really got handled as well. So, but you never know. Like you said earlier, it's college football. Any team can win on any given day, but this is really an uphill battle for Maryland.
I wish I could be positive about this one, but I think I can confidently say that it's probably going to be a loss if we're being realistic here. So let's kind of recap what we have so far. So we have a win against Rutgers.
Yes.
A dogfight against Iowa, which they need to win because they play Penn State in the final game of the season. So do you think Maryland makes a bowl game?
I want to say yes, but the only way they're going to make it, I think that they're going to make it, is if they beat Rutgers and Iowa.
Right. And say they win those 2 games. What do you see in the bowl game, maybe with the bowl game that they make?
I think it might not be as significant of a bowl game as the past few seasons, but it's still another great thing to put that Mike Loxley can put on his resume.
Right. So let's see what this team can do in the final 3 games. But for now, it's time to name our Pro Terp of the Week, which is former Dirty Terp, Matt Shaw. Shaw, a first-round pick for the Cubs last year, is 7 for 8 for Team USA in the Premier 12 tournament, including this 3-run bomb against the Netherlands, which added to his 7 RBI day. The only other player in Team USA history with 7 RBIs in a single game, Ken Griffey Jr. Congrats to Matt Shaw on being named our Pro Terp.
For our Terp of the Week, we have decided to give it to Maryland men's basketball freshman phenom, Derek Queen. Queen had a stellar debut against the Manhattan Jaspers, and after his first 2 games, averages a double-double with 15 points and 10.5 rebounds per game. Queen didn't just dominate offensively, as he added a pair of blocks and 3 steals to his stat line. Congrats to Derek on being named our Terp of the Week. Alrighty, Andrew, it's that time of the show where we crown our top 5 plays of the week. Want to get us started?
It'd be an honor. At number 5, we have the senior Jacob Orr belting a home run into the left field wall. Look at that, that's a moonshot. The senior continues to play like this. This team is going to have a great season, and so will he.
Number 4, we got Alyssa Kobasco with the save on the blocker. Man, she had a great performance against Iowa.
At number 3, of Hope Rose rocketing this ball into the back of the net. Unfortunately, Maryland could not pull out this win in a heartbreaker against Michigan. But what a goal from Hope Rose.
And now at number 2, we got Christina Dowsey with the stuff. Man, she should have pulled out the finger wag like the late Dikembe Mutombo. Here we go, slow motion. Man, that was tough.
At number 1, we have Bree McDaniel telling Duke that they're too little. This clutch and one to help them take down the former ACC rival. And Ben, possibly a rivalry renewed after Maryland women's basketball took down Duke in this one.
Yeah, Bree McDaniel has been a huge spark plug for this Maryland team.
She has.
And that'll do it for this edition of The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central.
Eddie Calkins and Drew Owens will be back at the desk next week.
Be sure to keep tabs on all of our coverage on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.